Good afternoon, everyone. My name is City News from iHeartRadio, Columbus, Ohio. And today I will kick off the virtual meeting for small business conversation proposed flavored tobacco regulation. And we're going to open up this virtual meeting. We can see everybody's beautiful faces with Council Member Shayla Favors. How you doing today?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time today to be a part of this conversation. Just as a way to keep the conversation moving, if you're not speaking, please mute your lines. I feel like we're back in COVID pandemic times, but please mute your lines because that'll help with the feedback and the facilitation of a good conversation. I wanted to start by taking a moment to acknowledge my colleagues and thanking my colleagues who have joined us this afternoon. I see Council President Shannon Hardin on the call, Councilmember Emmanuel Remy, and I believe we're going to also be joined by Councilmember Nick Bankston shortly as well. I'll start off with the same comments that remarks that I've been making. Just because we know that there are folks who this could be their very first time engaging with the material. I just want to make sure that we're consistent with our message. So my name is Shayla Favor, and I serve as chair of Columbus City Council's Health and Human Services Committee. A few months ago, the Coalition to End Tobacco Targeting in Columbus Public Health presented an initiative to Columbus City Council that would regulate the sale and distribution of flavored tobacco products within the city of Columbus. Since the beginning, City Council's goal has and continues to be to listen and to hear the data, the stories, and feedback from residents. When we created our engagement strategy on this issue, we were intentional in planning for 3 conversations for small business owners. This is our 4th conversation in our engagement process, with 2 additional upcoming conversations. I want to reiterate that no decision has been made. I've heard from many people say that that they believe our minds are already made up. And I just want to assure you that our minds are not made up. We are coming to this table with good intentions and good faith to continue to have conversation with you all. We are actively listening. Early on, we were made aware of the negative health impacts of smoking into flavored tobacco. But we also understand that the proposed legislation from Columbus Public Health could impact businesses. From the conversation we had with small businesses on November 2nd, we heard the feedback that while many of our business owners are complying with Tobacco 21, others are not, meaning these harmful products are still being sold to our youth. We took that feedback on November 8th at the public hearing. We shared an updated change to the proposed legislation that includes higher penalties. So we are listening. Today, we will have a short program, and after, we will open it up for public testimony. Thank you to everyone who signed up to speak in advance. And when your name is called, you will be unmuted. And at that time, you will be able to speak until the next person is called. If you do not want to speak today, but would like to provide written testimony, as always, you can still email flavoredtobacco@columbus.gov. We are reading each email and taking into account your testimonies. Additionally, we have another small business meeting planned for next Wednesday, November 30th. In 2 weeks, November 30th at 5 p.m. at Westgate Community Center, as well as another public hearing on December 1st at 5:30 p.m. in council chambers. Again, thank you all for being here with us. And with that, I'd like to open up to my colleagues if they would like to share anything. Council President Hardin.
Thank you, Chair Favor. I would just quickly say all that you heard from Chair Favor is that council is listening. This is a quick timeline legislatively, and so we appreciate you engaging, but it is a heavy on the community engagement, the listening from council, the hearings, the outreach. And so to Chair Favor's point, your emails, your phone calls, your engagement, your advocacy from regardless of where you're coming from on this conversation, we are listening, and we look forward to working with our partners and my colleagues as we get to some form of resolution by the end of the year. So just thank Councilmember Favor for her leadership, and thank every one of the presenters and business owners, advocates, health advocates, and residents for joining us today.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity to have this hearing today. I want to thank everyone that has reached out to my office, certainly from a variety of different perspectives, and it's certainly a good time to listen and learn. And so to have this space today and to be able to hear different perspectives is very important as we formulate this legislation ultimately by the end of the year. So certainly have an open mind of where we're going. And I appreciate you creating this space, Chair, for us to learn and explore. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Council Member. With that, I will turn it back over to City News.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to have an overview. Brian Wojtek.
Very, very good pronunciation. Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Foydick. I represent the National Association of Tobacco Outlets. Our members include many gas stations, convenience stores, and tobacco shops throughout Columbus. We do have concerns about the proposal. We would welcome changes to mitigate the harm, particularly to Columbus retailers and adult consumers. And we appreciate this opportunity to share our concerns and hopefully inform the process today. So thank you for that. And I do understand the need to stay on a time limit. So if you could put up my first slide, I will begin and try to move quickly through my material. Okay. First, in December of 2019, Congress raised the age of purchase for tobacco products from 18 to 21. Next, federal law and FDA regulations mandate that all tobacco products introduced into the market after February 15, 2007 were required to submit a pre-market tobacco application, or PMTA, to FDA by September 9th of 2020. The FDA has received applications for 8 million nicotine vapor products. Thus far, FDA has either refused to allow or denied marketing authorization for over 7.7 million products, which means by law, they are required to be removed from the market. The handful of applications that have yet to be fully reviewed, according to the FDA, will be completed by next June. The most important point here is that FDA has denied marketing orders for all flavored products thus far, and that's about 7.7 million flavored vapor products that are not legally authorized to be sold. FDA has approved only 23 products that they determined are appropriate to be on the market to benefit public health. None are flavored beyond being tobacco flavored. So despite what we've heard over and over, there are currently no legal bubblegum flavor, cotton candy flavor, or any of those frequently mentioned. Those products are already legal. This slide represents all of or a good portion of the types of products, and it's probably worth mentioning here as well that the flavored e-liquids that people use to fill and refill open system devices, the large batteries and the tanks on top, all of those types of liquids are already illegal. Slide 2. Okay, the important distinction to keep in mind here is that federal law allowed the FDA to regulate products that contained tobacco or tobacco-derived nicotine, but FDA jurisdiction over synthetic nicotine was questionable. So for the past year or two, we've seen manufacturers, mostly in China, moving quickly to produce and sell thousands of flavored synthetic nicotine products. To address the situation, Congress passed legislation to give FDA jurisdiction over synthetic nicotine products and established that in order for synthetic nicotine products to legally remain on the market, they would be required to submit a PMTA, and FDA would have to review those PMTAs and grant them a marketing order by July 13th of 2022. If a marketing order was not granted by July 13th, those products are illegal. No synthetic nicotine products met this burden. None are legal. FDA specifically announced that they, quote, have not authorized for sale any products containing synthetic nicotine, and all products on the market are marketed unlawfully and risk FDA enforcement action. It's illegal for a retailer or a distributor to sell or distribute e-cigarettes that the FDA has not authorized. Those who engage in such conduct are at risk of FDA enforcement, such as seizure, injunction, or civil money penalty. So references once again to bubble gum, cotton candy, and other flavors and synthetic products is an inaccurate characterization. So those products and all these in the photo here are already illegal products. Next slide, please. Additionally, the FDA has begun the regulatory process to ban menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars. They're proposing a new regulation which will go through the appropriate review. We suggest that you let the FDA navigate this process and do this work federally. The youth smoking rate, including for menthol, is lower than any time in recorded history. A local ban will invite massive illicit trade into Columbus. In regard to this situation, it doesn't matter that possession isn't a crime because trafficking illegal cigarettes is a crime, and it will be the subject of enforcement actions, particularly targeting young people of color and potential violence in battles over turf to sell products. And also in this photo, we have pipe tobacco pictured. All pipe tobacco is flavored, so all of it would be banned on a blanket ban. And if you're honest about it, kids aren't using these products. Old men are. There's no reasonable basis for you to ban an entire class of products that a small percentage of older adults and no underage persons are using. Next slide, please. In this slide, we have traditional smokeless tobacco products. This is moist snuff pictured here. Youth use has been declining for many years and is historically low. So once again, you're not impacting youth, but adults older than 21. Some of these flavors have been used by adults for nearly a century, and youth use is low and declining, and they shouldn't be included in any ban. Next slide, please. This slide depicts Swedish, they're called snus products. Snus is a Swedish term for smokeless tobacco. The FDA has approved what's called a modified risk tobacco product, or MRTP, applications for some snus products because the scientific reviews by the FDA have determined that these products are beneficial to promote public health. It's not good health policy to ban those products. Next slide, please. The next slide illustrates additional reduced risk products that are included in the ban that we don't believe should be. These are nicotine pouches that contain no tobacco and provide a way for adult smokers to consume nicotine without the dangers of combustion. These products would be banned under the approach being advocated by some, and that doesn't benefit public health. It harms it. Next slide, please. And these would also be banned under a broad ban. These are flavored cigars. Some will tell you that youth use these products, but the numbers as reflected in the data from CDC and FDA show that youth usage is very low. I think the only use, a lot of young adults use these problems to consume cannabis, which is already illegal in Columbus. Last, I wanted to talk a little bit about discuss the Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement and what it is and a couple of things that it includes. In 1998, the states and large cigarette manufacturers reached an agreement to settle litigation brought by the states and codified in the Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement. The major provisions of the settlement are twofold. The companies would pay billions to the states based on the number of cigarettes sold in those specific states, and tobacco companies would be required to abide by significant sales and marketing restrictions. Since 1998, tobacco company advertising is restricted, marketing is restricted, and promotions are restricted. Specifically, companies are prohibited from taking any action to target youth in the advertising, promotion, or marketing of tobacco products. The MSA also bans the use of cartoons in advertising, promotions, or labeling of tobacco products. It prohibits tobacco companies from distributing merchandise bearing the brand name of tobacco products. It bans payments to promote tobacco products in media such as movies, TV shows, theater, music, and video games. It prohibits tobacco brand name sponsorship of events with a significant youth audience or team sports, and it eliminates tobacco company practices that obscure tobacco's health risks. I wanted to highlight the last portion for you and the council just because there's been a lot of deliberately misleading information shared by advocates. When you hear big tobacco is targeting our kids with flavored vaping products, that simply is false. And for the last 24 years, it's been illegal. That concludes my portion of the presentation.
Brian, thank you so much. Did anybody, Councilman Favors?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for the presentation today. So just a few follow-up questions. So I think I may have missed something. What you're stating is that the synthetic nicotine products, so the vape juice, if you will, for lack of better terminology, and the flavors that we have been talking about, cotton candy and all of that, you're saying that that's already illegal?
Correct. All of those products were required to go through the PMTA process. Well, the tobacco-derived nicotine have been in the process for a long time. FDA has not approved one flavored product yet. They've rejected 7.7 million flavored products. They're no longer legally able to be sold. They are around. I recognize that there is an issue, and I think it's more of an enforcement issue rather than trying to just ban more products. But the synthetic nicotine, all of them are not legal. They're all illegal products and subject to FDA actions to penalize those who are doing it.
So I guess that would be my question. If it's already illegal, then what is the problem with us already banning something that you're saying is already illegal?
Well, I just think rather than painting with a very broad brush, as I indicated, there are products. There's 23 products that are tobacco flavored that have been approved by FDA, only tobacco flavored. And then when you get to this, like the snus products, for example, the modified risk tobacco, all those products are required to have approval for a pre-market tobacco application first. And the modified risk tobacco or application is another layer that allows those companies to even market their products as being helpful and beneficial to help smokers. So there are products that have been approved by the FDA that have that MRTP approval that they're allowed to not only sell the products, but to inform people within the limits provided by the FDA that this may reduce your exposure to toxicants from smoking and things like that. So I just think it's careful to not paint with too broad of a brush and wipe out products that the scientific review from the FDA has determined are beneficial to public health. And then as I mentioned too, like pipe tobacco, it's all flavored. Kids aren't using it. Like I said, it's mostly old people. So the products are different.
And I think that leads me to my next question as well. Part of our conversation has been centered around youth, but we got to this conversation from a race health equity lens. So if you can, do you have any information that supports what the breakdown looks like from your perspective, from a race health equity perspective? Because it's not just old men or just youth that we're talking about here as well.
Right. I mean, I don't have the numbers right in front of me right now, but I would look at the numbers both for adult use and youth usage of traditional combustible tobacco products, cigarettes, menthol cigarettes. Adult usage of cigarettes has gone down consistently and dramatically for a long time as people have become more educated and understand the health risks associated with it. Adult smoking continues to decline. Youth smoking is at the lowest rate since we've been recording the statistics currently. And the numbers, whether you're talking about traditional, a Marlboro or a Camel or a menthol cigarette, a Kool, or the numbers mirror one another. The youth smoking numbers are so incredibly low. You can make a claim like certain youth who use these products began with a menthol product. Well, youth are not beginning anymore. They're not using that. I mean, that would probably be, you're talking about 1% of people, and banning the entire class of products. While I understand it's well intended, certainly to protect, different populations that prefer different products, but there also are unintended consequences that come with that. There already is massive illicit trade in cigarettes around the country. And this will put a target on Columbus to say, well, now I can go into Columbus with a gym bag and sell cartons of menthol cigarettes. And that is not just a possession situation, that's a trafficking situation that will involve, consequences.
But Brian, if I could push back for just a second, if you're stating that menthol usage is down overall, why I have a hard time following the logic that this would invite a massive black market in Columbus. And if it is in fact down, why wouldn't we ban it then? Menthol usage.
Because there still are a lot of adults that are over 21. They're well aware of the health risks and they use these products, as they should be allowed to if they choose to do that. And when you have a market and a demand, it's going to be satisfied. So we would just prefer that it be an illegal, regulated market with licensed retailers who can be policed by the city and the health department and ensure they're complying with the law, rather than an illicit market, which doesn't have the same respect for the law or selling to youth and all of that.
Thank you. Council President Hardin.
Thank you, Chair Favor. Mr. Fotick, you represent convenience shops, gas stations. Does that include vape shops that we have presently in our community?
We do not represent any vape shops in our organization. They're all gas stations. I mean, there's grocers, people that sell traditional tobacco products. Some of them do sell permissible and have, like a gas station may have vapor products in it. We certainly educate our members as to what's legal to sell, what's not legal to sell, as FDA has gone through this process. So.
Well, just understand that we have, a vape shop community in Columbus, and hearing some of your data regarding what you believe is already illegal versus what I know is in our community, there already is a schism for me, or of like what of the information versus what we're seeing in the community. But also we know that the vape components, especially the single use, then throw out vapes, are definitely being sold in our gas stations and our retailers.
For sure.
We know that those are the flavors that we're concerned about. One of the things that I'm interested in from a small business perspective is we would not be the first community to have this type of ban. And so as a representative of the industry, could you walk me through what you've seen happen to other small businesses around the country and communities that have moved forward with a ban?
Sure. I mean, what you'll see in Columbus, I don't have the specific number. There's a great number of retailers that are located on both sides of the borders of Columbus that sell these products. And if you ban the products in one jurisdiction, for example, in Columbus, and we have seen this where this has occurred around the country. I'm in Colorado right now, and I could cite a specific example where a chain has, or a wholesaler serves multiple accounts, and they could tell you when this happens. And what happened in Massachusetts is, menthol sales obviously were gone in Massachusetts when this occurred. But if you look at the corresponding numbers of products sold from New Hampshire and Rhode Island, the increases there are commensurate. So what you're having people leave the jurisdiction to get the products that they desire, and they won't only leave to get the products, but people don't like to make 3 stops. You want to stop on your way to work and get your cigarettes and get coffee or whatever. They also buy other products or fill up with gas. But you've seen behavior move, but not necessarily stop. The other thing we've seen in academic studies of flavor bans, that broad flavor bans that have occurred. And one of the outcomes that I think you should be hearing from your health departments and others is that we've seen increases in youth and young adults smoking as a result of the flavor ban. There's 3 published peer-reviewed academic studies and papers that lay this out, and we'd be happy to share that. But that's a consequence, and I think that's like a lot of youth had been vaping, and it's you take something away, they replace one product with another. That's been another consequence.
Well, Brian, as we move forward in this conversation, maybe as a follow-up, if you have this documentation, could you get to my office the number of small convenience stores that have closed dependent post a ban in either a community or a city? I think a case study would even work. So you can choose Massachusetts. How many of your type of retailers closed directly with the impact of a ban? Or you could choose a California city if you have that data. That's all I'm asking for.
I will see what we have. I mean,
so
a lot of this too is if you're closed. I mean, in a in-store convenience store at a gas station, for example, where they have this store you can go in, approximately 30 to 35% of their revenue comes from their tobacco segment. So it's nice to say, well, you shouldn't sell all this poison and, sell scented candles or something. But the simple reality is their business model depends upon that. So when they experience losses, their other store across the border has gains. They lay people off. There are consequences beyond closing, but I will try to get the best information I can and share that with you. And
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, sir.
Councilmember Remy, did you have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Brian. I think we can, I'll turn it back over to C.
Yes, thank you so much. And I just want to tell all the attendees that's attending right now, we see your hands raised. You're using the feature great. We're going to save the questions till the end once we public discussion. But so we're going to keep the meeting going on. But just know we are not ignoring you. We see your hands up. Just know that that's going to happen at the end when we open up for questioning. With that being said, I'd like to introduce to you for youth access and youth data, Lindsay Stroud.
Thank you. I hope everyone can hear me. Awesome. Council President, council members, thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to testify and present today. My name is Lindsay Stroud. I'm director of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance Consumer Center and a visiting fellow with the Independent Women's Forum. I'll admit I'm not a small business, but I'm kind of here to do numbers. Since 2016, I have researched tobacco and vapor policy issues at local, state, and federal levels. I'm also the author of an annual 50-state analysis of tobacco and vape numbers, with the 3rd edition coming out in January, and some of this is going to be a preview of that data. So in recent years, as youth cigarette use has declined and vaping has become a mainstream talking point, lawmakers have attempted to reduce the number of kids who are using e-cigarettes. And I have fantastic news. Youth use of both combustible cigarettes and vapor products is declining. The National Youth Tobacco Survey is an annual youth self-administered survey conducted by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. According to the results that were released just last week, youth use of cigarettes is at record lows. In 2022, only 2% of high schoolers and 1% of middle schoolers reported current use of combustible cigarettes. Now, current use is defined as having used a product on at least one occasion in the 30 days prior to the survey, so it's not every day. Between 2019 and 2022, current use of cigarettes declined by 65.5% among high school students and by 56.5% among middle schoolers. Even better, between 2017 and 2022, high school smoking rates declined by more than 73%. These are some of the lowest rates ever seen. Now, the bigger issue, youth e-cigarette use. At the national level, youth e-cigarette use did slightly increase between 2021 and 2022. Yet this year's rates of use are still half of what they were in 2019. In 2019, an estimated 20% of middle and high school students reported past month e-cigarette use. In 2022, only 9.4% were using e-cigarettes. This is a 53% decline. Among high school students, vaping has declined by over 48.7%, and among middle schoolers by 68.5%. The state of Ohio also conducts local and statewide youth surveys on tobacco and vapor product use with its Ohio Healthy Youth Environment Survey, which I've been calling OYES. Unfortunately, 2021 data for Franklin County is not available, yet youth cigarette and vapor product use has declined in the county in recent years. Between 2015-16 and 2019-20, past month combustible cigarette and vapor product use among Franklin County youth declined by 38.9% and 14.3% respectively. In 2019-20, only 2.2% of Franklin County youth were currently smoking, and only 7.8% were currently vaping. Among the limited statewide data set, youth tobacco and vaping use among all Ohio youth is declining as well. In 2020-2021, only 3.7% of Ohio youth were currently smoking, and 12.5% reported current vapor product use. According to state data, youth vaping seems to have peaked in 2018-19, when 15.7% of Ohio youth were currently vaping. Between 2018-19 and 2020-21, past month e-cigarette use has declined by 20.4%. So those are the numbers. Now, it's important to note that these surveys also ask youth why they use e-cigarettes, and flavors often get touted as a reason for both initiation and use, but survey after survey indicate that there are other reasons that are more commonly cited among youth as a reason for trying and using e-cigarettes. According to results from the 2021 National Youth Tobacco Survey, among all students that have ever tried an e-cigarette, 57.8% cited trying them because a friend had, 47.6% tried them because they were curious about them, 25.1% reported trying them because they were feeling anxious, depressed, or stressed, 23.3% cited them that they tried them because of to get a buzz from nicotine, and only 13.5% of U.S. youth that had tried e-cigarettes in 2021 had tried them because they were available in flavors. Now, among students that were current e-cigarette users, 43.4% reported using them because they were feeling, feelings of anxiety, depression, and/or stress, which was the most common reason for current use. 42.8% cited using them to get a buzz from nicotine. 28.3% had used them because a friend had, and only 13.2% of U.S. youth that were current e-cigarette users had used them because of flavors. These results are similar to what is found in both Franklin County and in Ohio. According to 2019-20 OYES for Franklin County, among students who had reported ever using e-cigarettes, 52.4% cited using them because of a friend, 30.1% had cited other, 26.4% had cited them, they'd used them because they were bored, and only 15.4% had cited them because of flavors. Now, lawmakers should also be wary of unintended consequences of banning flavors and products that are essentially substitutes for cigarettes. The CDC annually conducts the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System Survey, the BRFSS, which tracks various factors among adults, including tobacco use. According to the BRFSS, between 2020 and 2021, smoking rates among young adults aged 18 to 24 years old declined on average among all states minus Florida by 19.7%. In fact, only 9 states saw increases in young adult smoking rates. And unfortunately, 3 of these states had flavor bans, which is 3 out of 4 states with flavor bans that saw an increase. The only state with an active flavor ban that didn't see an increase in young adult smoking rates was New Jersey, but they only saw a 6.8% reduction in those smoking rates, which is significantly lower than the 9.7% national average. In Ohio, the introductions of e-cigarettes has helped to accelerate significant declines in young adult smoking rates. Since 2012, when e-cigarettes became widely available in the entire U.S. market, young adult smoking rates in the state have decreased by 59.3%, with average annual declines of 9.5%. Contrastingly, between 2001 and 2010, smoking rates among 18 to 24-year-olds in Ohio declined by only 27%, with average annual declines of 2.4%. And finally, I was watching the hearing last week, and I noticed that there's a lot of issue on race and tobacco use. And I've just started looking at these numbers using the data from the CDC's BRFSS. And it is true that Blacks and Hispanics are smoking at a slightly higher percentage than their white counterparts in Ohio, but there are far more white adults who are smokers in Ohio than Black and Hispanic combined. In 2021, among all Ohio adults, 17.7% of white, 19.8% of Black, and 18.9% of Hispanic adults were currently smoking. Yet due to the population, white Ohioan smokers accounted for 82.2% of all smokers in 2021. In fact, in 2021, there were more than 369,000 white smokers in the state, which is 82.2% of all smokers, compared to 60,900 Black smokers, or 13.5%, and 19,200 Hispanic smokers, which is 4.2%. So in conclusion, while going after flavors in tobacco seems like a really good policy to address youth and adult use of tobacco and vapor products, such policies fail to acknowledge several things, including the significant declines in youth use, the reasons why youth are using e-cigarettes, the potential for e-cigarettes to reduce smoking rates, and the racial the racial makeup of all smokers in the state. Thank you for your time today.
Lindsay, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Council members?
Yes, thank you for your presentation this afternoon. I think my question remains the same, that if we are, as you're saying, seeing a significant decline in usage, then why wouldn't we ban the use of flavored tobacco?
One of the things that I'm super worried about is the illicit market. You are seeing it increasingly, especially when you look at newer types of e-cigarette products. There's a proliferation of these products coming into the United States, often from very clandestine actors in China. It's a massive market, and I'm worried about unregulated products getting into the hands. If you go back to 2019, when all the vaping related lung injuries were happening, those were largely attributed to unregulated products that contained cannabis. So I'm worried that it's not zero use, but you still have people that are using this. When you force them to get these products from illicit actors, they're going to be subject to very unregulated products, which might cause more harm than good.
But what's to stop the illicit market from popping up now?
Regulating it. If you look at, especially when you look at the e-cigarette policies, you see some of these things, that some of these new products that are coming out from direct federal regulations. You started to see disposables became popular once they banned the flavored cartridges. So there's always the market's always going to respond. The best way to counteract it, though, is to have regulated products on the market that you can actually do a track and trace system. You can see who are getting these products. You can see if there's other policies outside of an actual ban that could maybe reduce, if you're seeing that kids are getting this certain product.
Councilmember Remy, do you have any questions?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
What were the 9 states that you saw the increases in?
It was Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York. That are the 3 flavor ban states. And actually, I can go up to my testimony right now. I know West Virginia saw a very big increase. They also had a huge tax one. Kentucky, Louisiana, Alaska, Colorado.
And then I think in your testimony, you stated that there was a peak in vaping in 2018. Do we know, we have an idea why there was a peak then?
It seems that the peak is national and it seems like just an introduction of these products. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat, so I've been muting and coughing.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other question, I know that you said that you don't have a lot of data to break down around Franklin County, but I would be very much interested in local data because we know, in communicating with our administrators, with the district, this is a problem. When you have a teacher who is collecting, in one class setting, 7 vape pens or devices, that is, I don't think we can hang our hat on national data when we know that locally we are experiencing something different. And I know that, the data supports the fact that Ohio's usage is higher than national data overall. So I would definitely be very interested in looking at that local data. And I believe our Assistant Health Commissioner, Edward Johnson, has a question he'd like to ask as well.
Ms. Strout, thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate it. You were speaking kind of to some of the racial demographic breakdown data for Ohio, and I wanted to make sure that I understood the point that you were making. You were saying that because there are more white smokers overall, that is a consideration in how the City of Columbus regulates flavored tobacco.
Yes, I mean overall, yeah, 82.2% of all smokers in the state of Ohio are white adults. That's using CDC data. So, like I said, I'm still getting used to using this data. I know that like if when you break it down, I'm looking at these numbers right now. 17.7% of white adults in Ohio are smoking compared to 19.8% of Black adults. So that's a higher percentage among Black adults. But when you're looking at smokers as a whole in the state, there are far more white smokers.
But you think it's still fair to say the burden is disproportionately borne by African American smokers in Ohio as a whole?
I think there's more, and I don't have the data in front of me because I didn't get to look at it, and I can send it over. I think there's more of a disproportionate among income that you see more that, and then that's going to be when you look at the numbers and you start looking at them overall too, that you're not going to see a big difference in that one. And I have those numbers. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to break down, smokers by income. And the CDC actually does do the BRFSS for Columbus, but you can't access the breakdown of that data online. So it might be, prudent to actually reach out to the CDC to see if you can get the actual Columbus numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. City, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And now we'll be hearing from the law enforcement perspective. I give you Trooper Elliot Boyce. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I've been a police officer for 35 years. I've worked on multiple drug task force, state, local, and federal. I don't endorse smoking. For most of my career, I participated in programs that really highlighted interaction between police officers and communities, particularly communities of color, serving on the National Black State Troopers Coalition, serving on the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers, all organizations pertaining to interactions with the community and try to better policing as it pertains to the Black community. This menthol ban is dangerous. It's dangerous because even though we're trying to slide it, or Columbus and many cities are trying to slide it up through the health department, the second you ban anything, and we won't talk about menthol, any flavors, it becomes contraband. And the minute you make it contraband, it takes it from a health model to a criminal model. The second you take it to a criminal model, you can have police officers involved. All right? So contraband is the word you should stick to. And once you make cigarettes contraband, they fall in the same category as anything that's illegal. So that's crack, cocaine, and everything else. To understand how this is going to be dangerous and how the health department is going to have some difficulty dealing with it, they've already mentioned it. One of your questions, Council Member Favor, is, why would we ban something that is already, in an illicit market? Because it's going to increase the illicit market. The reason why it's a problem right now, or one of the reasons, and it's all due respect to the health department and the police department in Columbus, because I'm sure just like everyone around the country, there's a problem with manpower. But in 2021, when I looked on the website for the health department, it talked about this 800 plus tobacco licenses. And we talked about that previously where we said, or I said, you reduce mom and pop stores to nothing but tobacco license. But the part of the problem with it and why it's an issue is the health department with 802 or more licenses only did 1,200 checks, or just over 1,200 checks. So it's an enforcement issue as far as monitoring and regulating what's going on in the city of Columbus. But that's just through the health department itself, and I'd imagine they would have a problem. It'd be nice if you did a survey with the health department enforcers to see if they're understaffed or overstaffed to handle this. You create a ban and you're basically saying possession is not going to be an issue here. So possession is not written into the law. So let's do this hypothetically. That means once you make this ban, I could drive a truckload of cigarettes into Columbus, tax or untaxed, and sell it. You believe when the police officer stops that truck, the police officer is going to say, "Hi, have a good day, Mr. Boyce. Even though you have cigarettes that are banned in Columbus, though you're just possession, and we're not going to do anything." It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is going to be an enforcement action. And then when that enforcement action happens, and then the bad guy like myself says, there's no caveat to possession, I'm going to sue the city now because they stopped me unjustly and took my cigarettes. So a truckload of cigarettes, a U-Haul truck, medium size, is worth $4 million. $4 million. So I'm coming every day. And you catch me once and the police can't do anything. that's contraband and bring it to your city. So it is an enforcement issue. I will show you, as a police officer being in the game for 35 years, there's going to be enforcement. But what that looks like, the truckload is big. That's extreme. The issue you have to start worrying about is when you start having the younger adults, or Mr. Johnson, Mr. Jones, or Mr. Clark, that thinks I could drive over to the city next door, buy me a trunkload of cigarettes, because I want to take care of the people in the community and provide them with the cigarettes that they want because they're over 21 in the best interest of their needs. And I drive that truck in, or my Cadillac in, and I get into the community and I start selling them, because now I decide I'm going to go to Virginia to get them. Every time I hit Ohio line, now I am trafficking. So now you have people that are trafficking that are good citizens that normally wouldn't do it, but if they could buy them for $5 a pack in Virginia, bring them to Columbus and sell them at $10 a pack, and be $3 less than what you sell them in the convenience store on a regular basis without the taxes, it's money and overhead they're going to make. So that's what happens with trafficking. But we all know who runs illegal activity in most cities, because I do believe when we left Columbus last week, did a press conference, council member Favor, about shooting and gun violence and creating partnerships. And that very night, there was 3 shootings. I said it when I testified in Ohio, good people don't kill people. It's gang activity. And the reason why the health department is sliding it through the health department, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say sliding it through the health department, so let me correct that. By making a policy through the health department on contraband, health department will not be able to deal with it. The police officers will do it. So now what you have to understand when you talk about police, we're nosy, we're inquisitive. And some people have labeled it racial profile, and a new racial profile and a new stop and frisk. At the end of the day, I'm going to give credit to Columbus Police Department and believe that they will be doing their job to the utmost respect to the community. But once shooting starts to go up, once crime starts to go up for the illicit market, whether you say, hey, it's already being sold here, the illicit market will always do. It's just like getting a Gucci purse from the bootlegger. Instead of paying $1,000, I pay $500. People are going to go that route. Problem is, those good people that decide to go that route to supply the community now will be facing gang activity, which means when Mr. Johnson brings that truckload in, after a couple of weeks, everyone will think that's fine and dandy. They think he has money, he's going to get robbed. And when he gets robbed, he stays alive or he gets killed. Understand this about drug dealers. Drug dealers know 3 things. They know money, they know time, and they know product. How much time they will get for selling a certain amount of product and money. In this health component that you're creating, what you're basically doing is you're saying there's going to be a civil penalty. So you're taking the jail time out of it. That means if I'm a person, a good citizen like myself, and I can make a lot of money by shipping shipping cigarettes or any component into Columbus, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because it benefits me drastically financially. So that's the reason why it's a danger. Education, treatment, and counseling has worked for years. I think we have some very prominent political figures who basically were dealing with a smoking epidemic, with a smoking habit, in which they beat that smoking habit through education, treatment, and counseling. Why isn't that not good for the rest of the people in Columbus? Or is it the fact that the people in Columbus that we're really talking about, which you highlighted recently in your data, saying that these were smoke shops and not restaurants or community places, because those people on low economic scale don't have the same insurance or haven't been afforded the same insurance or afforded the same education, treatment, and counseling as maybe the prominent figure in Columbus that is spearheading this program. Another thing that we're talking about which was interesting, is when you talked about the young adults at the meeting. Young adults, you asked them a question, how can we help? Unscripted, the first thing both of them said was education. So please understand, as police officers, we're going to create investigations as it pertains to the way the trafficking goes in the city of Columbus. And I know some people will say, hey, trafficking is not going to happen. It's happening already. But 25% of the illegal market is a lot better than 100%. It is going to be a fight for turf. But with that being said, understand the police. When you talk about policing and policing itself, in the police community, you have police officers that are community-oriented, and then you have police officers that are aggressive, that basically are out there on the streets knocking the doors down. If I bring a truckload of cigarettes into Columbus worth $4 million, or if I bring any amount into Columbus, at some point in time, it becomes a danger. And the second the crime goes up, quality of life goes up, and the complaints start going into the mayor's office, and they start going into your office talking about, hey, on this particular street in the community of Columbus, this is crime. The police officers got to have to figure that out. And when they figure out it's due to cigarettes, there's going to be a problem. The police department is going to say we're understaffed, which all police agencies around the country are understaffed. Now what's going to happen is there's come this thing called a task force. It's the curse word that you don't want. Federal task force basically bring in a group of police officers, put them together, and then they start charging the people in Columbus with RICO charges. Very dangerous. So gun violence is up. I understand that you're, from reading some of the articles, you're going to legalize marijuana and replace it with menthol cigarettes as far as being illegal. It's dangerous. I understand when people come in, they give this as a health component, but they really don't go to the scope and step outside of the scope in which they understand that police involvement is a guarantee. And if you say, why not ban it? I think in the last meeting, Liz says, Councilwoman Brown said, why would gangs give up their lucrative business of selling drugs for the purpose of selling cigarettes? They won't give it up. They'll just add it on. The people you got to worry about is the young adults is basically trying to make a quick buck. I talked about it the last time when you said, or in the ban or in the meeting, it says that the number one cause of deaths for African Americans is cancer-related illnesses. Well, no one is saying that's Black America over the age of 64. We know on the streets of Columbus and streets around the country, I got 2 seconds. Basically, the number of death is between the ages of 12 and 15 is homicide of Black males. As it relates to gang activity, as it relates to streets. So be careful with this ban. As a police officer, you should poll your police officers and ask them, is this going to cause a problem? I'm guaranteeing you, they'll say it is.
Mr. Boyce, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Favors?
No question for Trooper. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll have retailer Christine Peters. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak. My name is Christine Peters, and I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Maine Smoke Shops. We are located in the state of Maine. We are an employee-owned chain that has been in business for over 22 years. In Maine, I have 3 locations that have or will have a flavor ban. My Portland location and my Brunswick location had a ban that went into effect on June 1st of this year. We are 5 months into the ban, and I would like to share my thoughts and what I am seeing in the field as a retailer. This has affected us greatly. My Portland store has a lot of walk-in customers. So sales there have been down by about roughly 10%. We track sales from year to year. Last week, my Portland store was down 11.2%. I have many menthol customers that tell me that they are buying flavored balls on Amazon that you can add to the filter of your cigarette, and it makes it menthol, mint, blueberry, or whatever flavor that you want. One customer told me that he buys drops at the Natural Living Center that changes the taste to menthol. So they're already coming up with some creative ways to smoke. My fear is that someone is going to try something that makes them sick that are not regulated products. My Brunswick store has seen a large decrease in sales. We are down on average of 30 to 40%. I have a store in the next town over that is a 9-minute car ride. That store is up 35 to 45%. I have had to move a few of my Brunswick employees over to the Topsom location, and she says that she's seeing a lot of regular customers that were Brunswick customers that are transitioning to just buying in Topsom. I've also heard that the local Starbucks that's right next to us has had a decrease in sales, as I assume that people are making a 9-minute trip to the next town over, so they're also going to purchase their coffee and other products out of town. My rent, my credit card fees, and other utilities have not decreased. I also have not raised my prices in those locations. Tobacco products are legal to purchase to adults 21 and over. My employees have been trained on checking IDs. We have a chain-wide compliance of 99%. No one wants to see youth tobacco use, and there has been a national decline since 2019 when the law changed to 21 and due to the PMTA process. There has been millions of tobacco products that have been taken off the market, and to this day, not one menthol vape product has been approved. People will drive across towns and borders to buy what they want. Maine is on the border of Canada. Canada did a tobacco and menthol ban in 2015. We have many shoppers that come over to the border and stock up on menthol cigarettes and mail them back to their house. Bans are not effective. They don't work. They just pull money out of towns. One must find out how minors are getting their hands on it and make it stops. Adults use vape products and other tobacco products to help get them off cigarettes. I myself, I haven't smoked in 3 years. I used vape to step myself down. And I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to speak. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you so much for your presentation, testimony this afternoon, excuse me. I'm sorry, I think I might have missed it, but your stores what type of stores are they?
They're smoke shops. I have 19 stores in the state of Maine.
Okay, so only, did you add any types of products to replace the flavor products?
I did not. I follow the PMTAs and I took out all the products that were banned.
No, I mean like other types of products to replace what was going to be missing as a source of revenue in your store because of the ban.
I have not.
Is that a consideration for you?
As a smoke shop, it's a pretty small scope of what I can sell. So I don't know what kind of products I could bring in to replace products that were banned.
Okay. I don't have any additional questions for Ms. Peters, but thank you for your testimony this afternoon.
Yep.
Okay, at this time, we will have our, you'll be able to ask questions. Please use the raise your hand feature and we will let you speak. And once you're speaking, after you have 2 minutes, and then your mic will be unmuted. And then when the 2 minutes is done, you'll see my hand go up and the host will mute you. And then one of the council members or Edward will answer your questions. That being said, the floor is open. And the first person, Gregory Conley, you have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm not sure why my camera is not going on, but nonetheless, my name is Gregory Conley. I currently serve as the Director of Legislative Affairs for a trade organization called the American Vapor Manufacturers Association. I have proudly been serving this industry and advocating for these products for 12 years as an attorney and an activist. And the American Vapor Manufacturers Association represents manufacturers in the nicotine vaping products industry. We actually represent many of the manufacturers of the tens of thousands of vaping products that are legally on the market under FDA rules that exist today. And I'm glad to explain any of those to the council. I'm here today to urge the members of the councils and stakeholders to rethink this issue before making a mistake that will be hard to walk back from. This proposal may very well be well-intended, but to call it a regulation is a misnomer. It is a ban that will impact dozens of small businesses and thousands of adult consumers who will be denied the opportunity to use FDA-regulated smoke-free harm reduction products. To address a question asked by Councilwoman Favor, if usage is down and FDA is restricting many of these products, why not just do a ban? First, we can't ignore that there are still 32 million adult smokers in America and 10 to 12 million adult vapors, many of whom are using flavored products to quit or reduce their smoking. Multiple studies have shown that adults using flavored products are much more likely to quit smoking than those using tobacco flavors. Second, the FDA has not foreclosed authorizing flavored products in the future. Indeed, as Brian Foytick pointed out, the FDA has not only authorized menthol, mint, and wintergreen smoke-free alternatives, but given manufacturers permission to truthfully tell consumers, hey, if you're a smoker, your health could benefit if you switch. Councilman Harding asked earlier about what happened in other cities and states with flavor bans. I can tell you, Massachusetts, immediately you saw the closure of dozens, if not 100 plus small businesses. And then there was also a study published by Dr. Michael Siegel from the Boston University School of Public Health, finding that cigarette sales in areas surrounding increased, and you saw e-cigarette sales decrease. So you saw more people picking up smoking than you would have without a ban in place. So to close off, Columbus business owners have spoken at length at these forums about their willingness to accept new rules and regulations to combat youth sales, but they cannot do more if youth sales are just moved to street corners, Snapchat, and Uber drivers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council members? Okay. Next, we recognize Mitchell Billerman. You
Yeah,
have 2 minutes, sir.
I apologize. It's Mike Billman. I've got using somebody else's device. So
Okay, not a problem. You have 2
Okay.
minutes, sir.
So I own a store on the north side of Columbus, and I would like city council members to imagine this, if they could humor me. Imagine being at one of our stores. Imagine saying to a customer, "Hi, I'm from city council, and we believe that you would be healthier if we banned the sale of your Newports." These are adults you're speaking to. "You'd be healthier if we banned the sale of your Newports, your Grape Swisher cigar, your Skull Mint, or etc., any of those products. And once we ban it in Columbus, all the other towns are going to do it also. So you won't be able to get it anywhere, which is better for you. Trust me, we have all the facts. We've heard all the facts. And anyways, the federal government is probably going to do it. We just want to be progressive and do it now. You don't even have to vote on it. We'll take care of it." These adults that you would be saying this to are doctors, lawyers, dentists, teachers, managers. They're white, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're Arabic, they're wealthy, and yes, they're low income. They're everything. I would bet that none of you would feel comfortable saying that to someone in our stores. And it doesn't count when you ask a friend or someone in a political setting these questions, because they're going to tell you what you want to hear. You don't have to go through with this ban. You can stand your ground. Just because other communities have done it doesn't mean we have to do it in Columbus. You might be taking away someone's joy when you ban these products. Yes, their joy. It may not be your joy, but it's theirs, and that's the point. Please go after the retailers that sell to underage, educate the young people, and let adults make their own decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members?
No questions from me. Thank you for your testimony.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Now we recognize Scott Ely.
Yeah, sorry, I signed up to speak, so I'm not sure what happened there, but let me continue. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak out in opposition, in strong opposition to the proposed flavor ban on these flavored products. During the November 9th public hearing, Assistant Health Commissioner Edward Johnson unveiled a proposed change that would see the penalties for underage sales increase to $1,000 for the first offense, $2,500 for the second, and $5,000 in loss of license for the remainder of the cycle for the third offense. However, these changes are not reflected in the Columbus Public Health Tobacco Proposal.pdf posted on the columbus.gov/tobacco website. Once again, the public is denied the opportunity to speak directly to a proposal. Luckily, I was at the November 9th hearing, so I would like to comment on the proposed change. As I said during my testimony on the 9th, this is a much more pragmatic way to battle illegal underage sales compared to a complete prohibition on products that adults choose and enjoy, nearly all of whom are and were former combustible cigarette smokers. Quite frankly, the previous penalty structure did little to disincentivize a bad business operator from selling to minors. Of course, it should go without saying that good and reasonable business owners have implemented strict age enforcement policies, even going so far as using third-party services to scan an ID to ensure that it's valid and that the person is of correct age. These good businesses should not suffer for the action of the bad. The city should instead take action on the bad businesses. Nor should the adults of Columbus who have chosen less harmful alternatives to smoking suffer due to the actions of bad businesses. City Council should consider implementing this new penalty structure before instituting a complete prohibition on products. As we have seen with the quite successful Tobacco 21 measure, increasing the difficulty for youth to obtain these products while still allowing adults access to non-cigarette alternative products, such as vaping, is a win for the community and is a win for public health. So very briefly, I would like to just follow up on the vapor products and their legal status that was mentioned by some previous commentators. FDA has made several public statements that FDA is choosing to use their permitted enforcement discretion while FDA completes the full scientific review as required by law. While FDA is conducting the scientific review of the products for which timely applications were submitted, they choose to enact their enforcement discretion to ensure that there is not an immediate negative impact on public health if these products were immediately removed from the market. Even more so considering that Dr. Brian King, director for FDA Center for Tobacco Products, stated publicly, I am fully aware of the misperceptions that are out there and aren't consistent with the known science. We do know that e-cigarettes as a general class have markedly less risk than that of a combustion cigarette product, end quote. So as before, I will submit a very thorough written statement, including full citations for the data points and all reference studies.
Thank you, Scott. Council members?
Yes. So just in response to your initial statement, we are working on the amended proposal. So we weren't, this was nothing nefarious on the city's behalf. The hearing was just a week ago. So we're going to, we can add bullet points to the website so that folks know that are unable to attend the hearing or these very important conversations as changes are rolling out. So I just wanted to make sure that that was very clear as we continue to move forward. But thank you for your testimony again. And just to note that all of these conversations are being recorded and they're also provided on our YouTube channel as well.
All right. Thank you for that follow-up. And please,
Absolutely.
Let's try the proposal first before prohibition and create an illicit market.
Thank you, Scott, for your testimony.
Thank you, Scott. We now recognize Justin.
Hi, how are you? My name is Justin. I'm a current employee at a vape shop. I've heard a lot what was saying to this. I'm actually new to these ban and these policy issues and concerns. I do ID every customer, which is talked about, especially with youth, because especially what's going on today. And but all I can say is I hope everything stays at peace with each other. Enforcement, has to have ends meet. But I used to be a cigarette smoker for years, and I quit and switched to e-cigs and so forth. And the natural ingredients, everything, especially with PMTAs and everything that is being established, we try to maintain a strict boundaries of what's being processed and what people are being allowed to use and what not use. And like that officer stated, that if you do a ban, that they could just go ahead and do it on the streets, which would make it unsafe. But as far as the vape industry goes, I just want everything to be at peace and move forward in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions for me. Thank you for your testimony this afternoon.
Now, Victor Hamucci. Victor? Is Victor on here? Okay, move forward with Abdullah Ansar.
Hello, everyone. So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You have 2 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me speak today. I know a lot of business owners are unable to join today's meeting because of, I think they are unable to connect with this link. So, my name is Abdullah, and I graduated last year from Ohio State. So, after graduating, I started business in Columbus, Ohio, the convenience store business. and I took loans from banks and some friends, So if this ban happens, I won't be able to pay back my loan, and because a lot of my sale is flavored tobacco. So also, I would like to add a couple things, One, to answer President Harden's question to NATO. So if I lose the revenue from menthol products, I will have to raise the price of other products like bread, milk, and other products in the store to make up for that loss. All of customers will feel this, the smokers and non-smokers alike. Also, I would like to invite the city council members to my store so that they can meet the menthol customers and the employees to hear their point of view as well. Another thing I would suggest that while you are drafting this legislation, I would recommend that the honorable city council members should make a committee where there should be at least two small business owners or two city council members and maybe someone from the health department so that we can draft it a little better, because we cannot, like in the last meeting I had with the honorable council member Sheila Favor and Rob Dorrance. So I suggested that, menthol, flavored tobacco, and vape, these are totally different things. We should not link this together. So if we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Abdullah, for your testimony again. And we continue to appreciate your advocacy. As I stated last, I think it was Thursday when we met, that we recognize that these are different products. And the initial proposal that was put out there, I understand that it may look as though, or it may appear as though that we're kind of lumping everything together, but that's just for the purposes of us having this informed conversation with you all. But thank you again for your continued advocacy.
And now we recognize Sarah Ritland. Sarah?
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I spoke at the last town hall that we had, and I don't have anything prepared, but I did want to speak to something specifically to something that Brian brought up, and Councilwoman Favor, you seemed to have some questions. And I just wanted to clarify that my store does not sell any illegal products currently. The way that the MDO works from the FDA, when the FDA comes and decides that they issue a marketing denial order and the product needs to be pulled from the market, we get notified from our distributor that this product has an MDO that gets pulled from the shelves, and then it can be, we can have another product come in that is not gotten a marketing where the product has to be pulled from the market. So I just wanted to offer a little bit of clarity. It might sound a little confusing because truly this is incredibly off the cuff, which I am not good at. But I just wanted, when Brian said that all these products are illegal, I just wanted to clarify that we do not carry any legal products in our store. Any product that has an MDO from the FDA gets pulled from our shelves. All the products that we currently carry are of those, I believe it's, 700,000 products that are left legally on the market. I just wanted to clarify that. And I appreciate what Lindsay was saying. In my testimony at the last town hall, I mentioned that as smokers, we get to be considered second-class citizens. And I was very happy that she spoke on not just the race portion of it, but the fact that it is lower income Ohioans who do make up the largest percentage of smokers. So it's a, it may be a race thing. I don't have the numbers. Lindsay is very smart about that, but I was very happy that she spoke on the point that it is Mount Vernon, it is Chillicothe, it is Circleville, it is, underprivileged communities that have a higher smoking rate. So I just wanted to clarify on the legality of my business. And I was very happy that Lindsay touched on the income portion of that. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Time. Council members?
I would say thank you for the context on how your store operates around the sale of flavor products that have been deemed illegal by the FDA.
And if any of you would like to come into my store or any of the other stores located in Columbus, I'm very good friends with them. We would be more than happy to educate you on the ground in our stores to show you how we operate business and that we do help serve our community and keep smokers away from combustible tobacco products. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now recognize Saheed Malik.
Giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry. I attended a lot of meeting with the city council and stuff, and I just sort of have a couple of questions. The one of thing, the council member shall ask, how you can replace this revenue with the other product, and I will ask the city council to regulate other product to increase the margin, just like beer and wine have a better margin than the cigarettes. And it's a regulated product, it's a state minimum. As everybody knows, we don't make money on the cigarette, it just brings the customers in. And why we not increase the margin of the cigarettes to recover the loss if we go through this ban, which we don't recommend to go through this ban, and other products. And the second thing, what is the plan for the city? The people going to close down the business, how they can get out from the leases and from the bank contract. Like my situation is, I just got a loan almost $300,000. And I renovate my place. And if it is ban go through, I'm right there on the edge. And I will be the more affected business because I'm right there by Columbus and Gahanna and other cities. And I'm in Columbus. And I'm not going to able to pay my loans back to the banks and friends. And what is the plan for the city to deal with those kind of the situation? Do we going to get help from the council member, from the city or state, and how we can handle those situations? And as we know, there's a lot of other product which is more worse than menthol and the flavor tobaccos. And just like as an example, nobody want to live in Columbus area because the schooling, their education. And why we don't work on those things to education? To me, if you want to bring something good in the society, you got to educate people. You need to bring the education better. You need to teach people to make them good citizens so they can follow the law. They can know what is good for their health and
Thank
what
you, Mr. Malik.
benefits and everything.
Time. Thank you, Mr. Malik. Council members?
Yeah. So, and to your point, sir, thank you again for your continued advocacy. So, two responses to questions, to some points that you made. As it relates to education, we already have hundreds of cessation programs that operate in the city of Columbus, which begs the question that if these education resources, these cessation programs are out there, then something isn't working, or we need to rethink how we're approaching this issue around helping individuals who do want to curb their habit or eliminate smoking altogether. So there's that. And I will also add, thinking about how those programs need to be reformatted is another point. And then I believe there was a comment around, what are we going to do to help businesses that could be impacted with leases and things like that? I don't have an answer to that question yet, but that's why these conversations are important to us, because we're trying to understand the gaps of a policy such as this, and how we need to engage, legislate, provide resources to the businesses that are most impacted, that would be impacted by a potential flavor ban. So I don't hide the ball from you all, and I will let you know when I don't have a good I don't have an answer. And that is something that I'm comfortable in stating in this conversation. It's the reason why we want to continue to have these conversations with you all so we can understand where those gaps are. So thank you for that comment.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Council member, sorry. J.C. Perry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, I'm out of Toledo, Ohio. I'm owner of Nice Cloud Vapor. We have 2 locations. 2018-19, Councilman Larry Sykes came with a flavor ban. We asked, what are you trying to accomplish? Well, the accomplish is to get youth to stop using e-cigarettes, tobacco, what have you. Okay, so we sat down with Councilman Sykes, we sat down with Lucas County Health, and we strategized. What can we do? Where are the kids getting it from? The first one was Friends. With the implementation of the 21 and over, that killed a major bridge to high schoolers getting e-cigarettes. The second one, well, unfortunately, if you go to FDA's website, you can see compliance checks. The vast majority of failures comes from gas stations and Kroger's and Speedways. And so that's another bridge that we had to close. So in the end, we came to a conclusion, a very smart, progressive, proactive resolution to this problem. All flavored vape products in the city of Toledo are sold at 21 and over facilities. You walk in the door, you get ID by an electronic scanner. It never happened to me at a Kroger. It's never happened to me at a Speedway. But when you come into a Nice Cloud, you're getting scanned, you're getting inspected, and then we're offering the products that you wish. It's beautiful. The adults get the products they want. The kids have to go through 3, 4, 5, 6 different walls to now find a product they're trying to get to, which is much more difficult. I suggest looking at Toledo's ordinance. If you have to do something, I suggest you look at Toledo's ordinance for guidance.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Thank you. No questions. We're on it.
Okay. At this time, I would like to hand the meeting back over to Councilmember Favors. Closing remarks.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation this afternoon. I know that it may appear as an interesting time frame to host the meeting, but we have been, the goal is to be intentional about how we have these conversations and provide various different options for and time frames for you all to be able to get your testimony out there, for you to engage with members of council about the issue. And then we understand that everyone can't make it down to City Hall, you can't make it down to a community center. And so hopefully this time frame for a virtual conversation wasn't too inconvenient. But with that being said, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our speakers today for you providing your testimony and for engaging in this process. Once again, Columbus City Council is committed to continuing to listen and hearing from all of you on this issue. Once again, we are hosting another small business meeting on November 30th at 5 p.m. at Westgate Community Center, and another public hearing on December 1st at 5:30 p.m. in council chambers. Additionally, our public comment period remains open, and you can email the flavored tobacco at columbus.gov email address with any additional comments or provide your testimony written if you would like to as well. Thank you again for your participation in this important conversation. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you all. This concludes our meeting, and we'll see everybody on the 30th. Have a great day.
Thank you.